provided for us. We thank you for clothing and shelter. We thank you for all the things that thou hast given us, Jehovah, even in these days. To thee we send Hallelujah. May be seated. It's a blessing when you see the generations just grow and they do the same things that are good and they pass it down from generation to generation. And it's a blessing because you know that the traditions and the culture will be passed down and they will carry it on. So that was a nice jam session. Hallelujah. So we're going to go into a little bit of the Maccabees and the story about Hanukkah. Now, what I want you all to know is we're not going to have really enough time to get through the whole Hanukkah thing or get through all the chapters because they're very long chapters and there's a very long, extensive history, which I'm probably going to finish up like on Shabbat night talk. So you could probably go back there and catch it. Kind of did some of the backstory last night, when I spoke about the scribe Eleazar, 90-year-old man who refused to eat swine's flesh. And also I spoke about the 7 brothers and their mother who were also murdered because they refused to defile themselves by eating swine's flesh. Right. So this is the backstory of what was happening during the Seleucid invasion of Israel by a wicked emperor by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes, which Chief Benjamin and all of us been speaking about in the book of Daniel. So this is actually the natural connection that comes with that. So these are the things that we're going to go through. We're going to read some of this history that is a true history as we proceed on. So let us go to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, starting from verse 1. It's all right.
We're in the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
After Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came from the land of Kittim, had defeated King Darius of the Persians and the Medes, he succeeded him as king. He had previously become king of Greece. He fought many battles, conquered strongholds, and put to death the kings of the earth. He advanced to the ends of the earth and plundered many nations. When the earth became quiet before him, he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. He gathered a very strong army and ruled over countries, nations, and princes, and they became tributary to him. After this, he fell sick and perceived that he was dying. So he summoned his most honored officers, who had been brought up with him from youth, and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. And after Alexander had reigned 12 years, he died.
He died. So Alexander the Great was his father Philip was a Macedonian king. So Macedon is part of Greece, but is the northern part. And when you start coming further south, at that time Greece was divided into different states. It had Sparta, it had different Thrace, it had different places in Greece. But his father Philip came from the northern part of Greece, and he could not conquer all of Greece. But here came along his son at 21 years old, Alexander, and he united Greece as one front, right? And this started this empire that Alexander's father actually started. And Alexander went out and ruled all the way from Greece down to Egypt, all the way to the Indus River. He conquered all this territory. He was trying to go over to China, but he couldn't get past the Hindus River, and he got sick, and he died, right? But he was known as the ruler of the world at that time. You got so many cities in the East and in Africa that are named after this man. In Egypt, you have a place called Alexandria. Egypt don't have names like Alexandria, but that's because Alexander conquered it. The thing about Alexander is when he came when he came to overpower a people, or he ruled over a people, he gave you the choice to keep your religion. That was the kind of emperor that he was, because he understood that it was better for people to keep their way of life and their philosophy rather than destroy their belief system, and then you have an angry people at your doors, and then you always have to be calling down uprisings and things of this nature. So he was trained by who was it that trained him? I got it right here. It was one of those philosophers that was his teacher. I think it was Socrates, or one of these guys was his teacher, and he taught him a lot about life and how to deal with certain things. So when we look at Alexander and we look at how he reigned, yeah, we understand that Greek culture was a lot of a lot of homosexuality and things of this nature, but the Most High God, needless to say, gave him the power to rule that portion of the earth at that time in history. And it is written in history books, as we understand today, that he was called the Great for a reason. Right. Let us go. Verse so 8. Now he's at the point where he's ruling, he's dying, and as the history books say, that they asked him, well, who should rule after you? And he said, it should go to the strongest. So at this period in time, we have a bunch of his generals that are fighting over territory. Initially, it was like 10 different territories and had 10 different rulers. Then it came down to 4, and now we down to 2. The Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemies. The Ptolemies were down in Egypt. The Seleucid was part of Syria, Persia, and all these different parts of the Middle East and parts of Europe. This is the Seleucid Empire. So at this time and period, this is what we're looking at, and this is where we're at in history. Let us go.
Verse 8. Then his officers began to rule, each in his own place. They all put on crowns after his death, and so did their descendants after them for many years. And they caused many evils on the earth. From them came forth a sinful root, Antiochus Epiphanes, son of King Antiochus. He had been a hostage in Rome. He began to reign in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So you could go back to Chief Benjamin's lesson last week, because I don't want to reiterate everything he said, but he covered a great part of what was the time and period, the number. He spoke about Antiochus and how he was in Rome, and how he had the gift of gab in order to get out of prison and even come down and to be a ruler once again. So this is what's going on in history. Antiochus is also the one conspicuous horn that spoke about in the book of Daniel, where it spoke that said that he spoke how you say, like those words that could deceive people, right? Those words that were like so intelligent that he could get over on anyone. He was that conspicuous horn that it was talking about in the book of Daniel. So we keep all these things in mind. We keep all the references that we heard already in Daniel. This is that one horn, or that one person that it was talking about over and over and over in the book of Daniel. This is the man right here, Antiochus. Let's go.
Verse 11. In those days, certain renegades came out from Israel and misled many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the Gentiles around us. For since we separated from them, many disasters have come upon us. This proposal pleased them, and some of the people eagerly went to the king, who authorized them to observe the ordinances of the Gentiles.
You hear that? So now we got Israelites that willingly went to do what the heathens were doing. Now, during this period of time, we have a Hellenization in this region. Now, anybody knows what being Hellenized mean, or what being in a Hellenistic period? Do you know what that means? Anybody?
Like Americanized.
Multiple cultures, not quite. A Greek culture. To be Hellenized means that you adopting a Greek culture. Remember, it's coming from Alexander. These are all the generals' sons. By the time we get to Antiochus, it's about 10 generations separated from Alexander. We got about 10 generations separated from Alexander since that first Seleucid general was able to take over, and now we down all the way the line. So this Hellenistic culture has survived all these generations. And these Israelites are willingly saying, I want to be Greek.
Eagerly.
I want to do the things that Greeks do. And we're going to see some of the things that Greeks do. Let us go.
So they built the gymnasium in Jerusalem, according to Gentile custom.
So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem according to Gentile custom. Now, gymnasium, the name itself means like a place where you come in naked. A gymnasium was a place where you came in men, not women. Women weren't allowed in gymnasium. What we see today when we go to the gym and we go work out and you see women in there working out and doing Pilates and you see them doing all types of exercises, that wasn't allowed back then. A gymnasium was a place that was strictly for men to come in naked. That's what a gymnasium was. That's the literal meaning of the name. Look it up, gymnasium, and it's going to tell you it's a place where men with nakedness happen. Yeah.
Your old notes.
Oh, yeah, you got my notes? All right, thank you, sir.
Gymnasium, origin, late 16th century, Latin from Greek, gymnasium from gymnasium, exercise, naked from gymnos, which means naked.
Naked.
In ancient Greece, functioned as a training facility for competitors in public games. It was also a place for socializing and engaging in intellectual pursuits. The name comes from the ancient Greek gymnos, meaning naked.
Naked. So we wanted to pursue a Greek culture where men went into a place naked and they did exercise and they did all types of stuff. Oiled their bodies down and men wrestling with men. That's what happened because you see Greco-Roman wrestling consists of one man laying down on the floor and another man getting on top of him. And they used to do this naked. And this is what our forefathers wanted to do. This is what they were pursuing. Let us go.
And they removed the marks of circumcision and abandoned the Holy Covenant. They joined with the Gentiles and sold themselves to do evil.
You hear that? Said, they abandoned the sign of circumcision. They stopped circumcising the kids. And some of them, because they were already circumcised, began to mutilate themselves. What they would do is they will cut off the tip of the male genitalia, or some of them will take weights and put it on the hanging flesh on the side so that it could pull it down and it could appear that they was uncircumcised. Because when they went into the gymnasium, everybody was out in the open. You could see who was circumcised and who wasn't. So because they wanted to adopt a Greek culture, they had to look like the Greeks. And they wanted to look like the Greeks. And they wanted to be like the Greeks. Just like many of us today, we want to be like the European. We want to be so much like European that people begin to bleach their skin. Because we want to live in that American lifestyle. Or we want to live like the people around us live. When we have a culture of our own that God already gave us. But this is what was happening at this time. Let us go, my brother.
Verse 16. When Antiochus saw that his kingdom was established, he determined to be king of the land of Egypt in order that he might reign over both kingdoms. So he invaded Egypt with a strong force with chariots and elephants and cavalry and with a large fleet. He engaged King Ptolemy of Egypt in battle, and Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many were wounded and fled.
So like I said, he's the Seleucid king from Syria, right? And now he goes down to Egypt and he invades Egypt. Because now he's greedy. Want to rule over all of this region. I'm going to be better than Alexander. Let us go.
They captured the fortified cities in the land of Egypt, and he plundered the land of Egypt.
So he went in there, he ransacked it, he plundered it. Let's go.
After subduing Egypt, Antiochus returned in the 143rd year. He went up against Israel and came to Jerusalem with a strong force.
He came to Jerusalem with a strong force on the 143rd year. He went in there, he ransacked the temple, and he did what he had to do. He desecrated the altar and did all the atrocious things that are written in this history book. Let us go.
He arrogantly entered the sanctuary and took the golden altar, the lampstand for the light, and all its utensils. He took also the table for the bread of the presence, the cups for drink offerings, the bowls, the golden censers, the curtains, the crowns, and the gold decoration on the front of the temple. He stripped it all off. He took the silver and the gold and the costly vessels. He took also the hidden treasures that he found. Taking them all, he went into his own land. He shed much blood and spoke with great arrogance.
He went in there, massacred, robbed, plundered, raped, and spoke basely and threw down the name of the Creator. That's what he basically did. Let us go.
Israel mourned deeply in every community. Rulers and elders groaned. Young women and young men became faint. The beauty of the women faded. Every bridegroom took up the lament. She who sat in the bridal chamber was mourning. Even the land trembled for its inhabitants. And all the house of Yaakov was clothed with shame.
You hear that? So now at this point, we got wives, young wives, crying because their husbands are dead. You got young husbands dying because their wives have been taken away. This is what was going on. The people were suffering. You see, we really don't know what suffering is. When you look at pictures of people that are living like in a war zone, and you see that they have to migrate because their homes and everything that they knew to be home is gone. Now that's a sad state, and that's true survival. What we complain about is not really anything in comparison to what other people go through war-ravaged zones and things of this. Right now in Syria, I mean, there's parts of Syria that are non-existent right now, that are just destroyed. So this is what these people was going through. They came in there, they ransacked the place, they destroyed it, they burnt it down. Let's go.
29. 2 years later, the king sent to the cities of Yehuda a chief collector of tribute, and he came to Jerusalem with a large force. So
this is after Antiochus went in there, ransacked the temple, and did all that. He sent somebody in there to collect taxes 2 years later. Let's go.
Deceitfully, he spoke peaceable words to them, and they believed him. But he suddenly fell upon the city, dealt it a severe blow, and destroyed many people.
So they weren't people of their word. They came in with deceit. They came in saying, hey, you know, we coming in peace. And when the people turned their back, they massacred them. Let's go.
He plundered the city, burned it with fire, and tore down its houses and its surrounding walls. They took captive the women and children and seized the livestock. Then they fortified the city of David with a great strong wall and strong towers, and it became their citadel.
So they took Jerusalem, they built it as a stronghold, right? And they put towers there to see who was coming and who was going. If you coming to sacrifice, if you coming to make your pilgrimages, we see you coming. And this is where they established a stronghold in the city of David. Let us go.
They stationed there sinful people, men who were renegades. These strengthened their position. They stored up arms and food. And collecting the spoils of Jerusalem, they stored them there. And became a great menace for the citadel. Became an ambush against the sanctuary, an evil adversary of Israel at all times.
You imagine somebody coming to your house and you don't have any control of it? You don't have any control of what's happening in your home. They going into your cabinets. They telling you what to do. They got your favorite couch, your favorite recliner. They watching your TV. They telling you to go get them water. Can you imagine that? That's what was happening to them. That's it. I'm putting it. It's like a microcosm of what was happening. You know. Let us go.
On every side of the sanctuary, they shed innocent blood. They even defiled the sanctuary. Because of them, the residents of Jerusalem fled, and she became a dwelling of strangers. She became strange to her offspring, and children forsook her. Her sanctuary became desolate like a desert. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Shabbat into a reproach, her honor into contempt. Her dishonor now grew as great as her glory. Her exaltation was turned into mourning.
So now the people are suffering. They can't keep Shabbat.
Right.
They can't keep holy days. They can't do any of that because it's going to cost you your life if they even catch you observing these holy days. So the people had to run into the mountains. People had to escape in order to keep the laws of the Creator of heaven and earth. And this was happening in the Holy Land. This wasn't happening outside like when we were here in the south. This is happening in Jerusalem, in the land. Let's go.
Then the king wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and that all should give up their particular customs. All the Gentiles accepted the command of the king. Many even from Israel gladly adopted his religion. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Shabbat.
Sellouts. People that just don't care about God. You got them today. You had them back then.
Right.
Israelites that know better, but do that which they want to do in their heart to please that man. When you decide that on the Shabbat, you know, I got to go to work because I got to feed my family,
right.
You one of them same sellouts.
Right.
You got that same spirit. Because that means the pressure is upon you and it's applied strong enough that you're going to wilt under that pressure. We're not a people like that. We're not supposed to be a people like that. But these people right here, they went willingly to do that which is wrong against the laws of the creator of heaven and earth in order to fit in into this Hellenistic society. Let us go.
And the king sent letters by messengers to Jerusalem and the towns of Yehudah. He directed them to follow customs strange to the land, to forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the sanctuary, to profane Shabbat and festivals, to defile the sanctuary and the priests, to build altars and sacred precincts and shrines for idols, to sacrifice swine and other unclean animals.
You hear that? He sent letters saying, profane the Shabbat, the holy days, instead of sacrificing goats and lambs on the altar, now we're going to sacrifice swine's flesh. That's a direct disrespect to the laws of God. Straight up. Let us go.
And to leave their sons uncircumcised.
To leave their sons uncircumcised, because they understood that that was the way we entered into the covenant with God.
Right.
So it's important to be circumcised. They understood the importance of it. But today you got people that walk around and say, I'll do it, I won't. Once you come into knowledge of yourself, I don't care how old you are, you're supposed to go and circumcise yourself in order for you to be in the covenant.
Right.
Let us go.
They were to make themselves abominable by everything unclean and profane, so that they will forget the law and change all the ordinances.
They wanted to change all the ordinances of the Most High God. Let's go.
He added, and whoever does not obey the command of the king shall die.
Whoever does not obey shall die. This is a lot of pressure. That means your culture, you have to forget it. Your way of life, you have to forget it. Throw it out the window. No more circumcisions, no more holy days. You're going to be praising a different God. You're going to be doing different things. This is what our forefathers had to go through. Let's go.
In such words he wrote to his whole kingdom. He appointed inspectors over all the people and commanded the towns of Judah to offer sacrifice town by town. Many of the people, everyone who forsook the law, joined them, and they did evil in the land.
You hear that? They went town by town enforcing the rule, making sure that you made swine sacrifice, making sure that you bowed your head to their gods. Let us go.
They drove Israel into hiding in every place of refuge they had. Now on the 15th day of Kislew in the 145th year, they erected a desolating sacrilege on the altar of burnt offering. They also built altars in the surrounding towns of Judah and offered incense at the doors of the houses and in the streets. The books of the law that they found, they tore to pieces and burned with fire. Anyone found possessing the book of the covenant or anyone who adhered to the law was condemned to death by decree of the king.
So they erected a statue of Zeus, because that was the god of the that's the god of the heavens and of the sea in Greek mythology, right?
Right.
And he carries the thunderbolt, so he controlled the heavens. And they erected a statue of Zeus in the temple in Jerusalem.
Wow.
And they told it, and they went from town to town, and they made the people worship Zeus. Which I think Zeus is Jupiter. It's equivalent to Jupiter in Roman tradition or in Roman culture. But it's the same God. So this is what they forced the people to do. Let us go.
They kept using violence against Yisrael, against those who were found month after month in the towns. On the 25th day of the month, they offered sacrifice on the altar that was on top of the altar of burnt offering. According to the decree, they put to death the women who had their children circumcised, and their families and those who circumcised them, and they hung the infants from their mothers' necks.
and rifle their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. So, you want to circumcise your son on the 8th day? All right, we got something for you. Come out here. They took the woman, tied them up, took the babies, put a rope around the woman's neck, and hung the baby off the woman's neck. That means that baby took their last breath on their mother's chest. That's what they did. To make an example out of each and every one of us. These people were cruel. That's why it said that this one was an enemy of the children of God when it spoke about them and Daniel, when it spoke about him and Daniel. This was an enemy of the Most High God because of the atrocities that he was going to do. And it's coming into light right in this history. You see what he's doing. This was a decree from Antiochus. He was more cruel than anybody else. Let us go.
But many in Yisrael stood firm and were resolved in their hearts not to eat unclean food. They chose to die rather than to be defiled by food or to profane the holy covenant. And they did die. Very great wrath came upon Yisrael. Chapter 2.
So, when you look at the book of 2nd Maccabees, look at the book of 2nd Maccabees, we read about the scribe Eleazar. Like I said, you could catch that on the D.C.B channel. I did that last night, and you could read up on that history and see how this coincides with what we just read here. That's why I said it was more of a backstory. Let's go. Let's try to get some of this.
In those days, Mattathias, son of John, son of Simeon, a priest of the family of Yoarib, moved from Jerusalem and settled in Modin. He had 5 sons: John, surnamed Gadi, Simon called Tasi, Judas called Maccabees, Eleazar called Avanah, and Jonathan called Aphis. He saw the blasphemies being committed in Judah and Jerusalem and said, "Alas, why was I born to see this, the ruin of my people, the ruin of the holy city? And to live there when it was given over to the enemy, the sanctuary given over to aliens."
You hear that? So this is a family of priests, Levites, that were out there, and it's mentioning them for a reason, because this family is going to take up the fight of Israel. Let's go.
Her temple has become like a person without honor. Her glorious vessels have been carried into exile. Her infants have been killed in her streets, her youth by the sword of the foe. What nation has not inherited her palaces and has not seized her spoils? All her adornment has been taken away. No longer free, she has become a slave. And see, our holy place, our beauty and our glory have been laid waste. The Gentiles have profaned them. Why should we live any longer?
You hear that? So now he's lamenting as to what happened to Jerusalem and to the city of God, because he's saying to himself, this is what we were born to see? The destruction of this beautiful place? He said, what is my life worth to me? So why am I alive? To see this? And let's see what else he says. Let's go.
Then Mattathias and his sons tore their clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned greatly.
Because they're trying to get closer to God. These are ways to get closer to God, by calling God and showing God that you have truly repented. This is why our forefathers did this. Let's go.
The king's officers who were enforcing the apostasy came to the town of Modin to make them offer sacrifice. Many from Israel came to them, and Mattathias and his sons were assembled.
So the king officers came to make the people revolt against God. Listen, we could make this, we could do this the hard way, or we could do this the easy way. Now the easy way is just come up, eat some swine's flesh, let the people see you eating the swine's flesh, and it's all good and dandy. We could get past the whole trying to massacre y'all. We could get past the whole trying to bow your heads and beat you and scalp you and do all these things. Just eat the swine's flesh and all will be well. Let's go.
Then the king's officers spoke to Mattathias as follows: "You are a leader, honored and great in this town, and supported by sons and brothers. Now be the first to come and do what the king commands, as all the Gentiles and the peoples of Yehuda and those that are left in Jerusalem have done."
Say, yeah, look, Mattathias, Yahu, right? That's how you say his name? So look, let's make this easy, right? So look, you a leader, you're going to make this easy for us. If you eat the swine's flesh just like all the other sellouts did, you make it easy for us, for me and you both, and we don't have to go through this. So just eat the sacrifice and we'll be good. Let's see what this man says. Now he's well advanced in age, But let's see what he does. Let's go.
Then you and your sons will be numbered among the friends of the king, and you and your sons will be honored with silver and gold and many gifts. But Mattathias answered and said in a loud voice, even if all the nations that live under the rule of the king obey him, and have chosen to obey his commandments, every one of them abandoned the religion of their ancestors, I and my sons and my brothers will continue to live by the covenant of our ancestors.
He spoke for everybody. He wasn't afraid. He said, listen, even if all the people of the earth have chosen to do the king's commandment, he said, me and my family and the people of this town, we're not doing that. We serving Yah. Let us go.
Far be it from us to desert the law and the ordinances. We will not obey the king's words by turning aside from our religion to the right hand or to the left.
Or to the left. That means I left you no choice now. What they say, you between a rock and a hard place. Right now, it's nothing left to do. Ain't no more talking left to do. Let us go.
When he had finished speaking these words, a Hebrew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice and to offer in Modim, according to the king's command.
A sellout. So I don't care what he's talking about. He don't speak for me. He don't speak for me. Give me that pig. Let me make this sacrifice. That's what he did. He did it right in front of that elder. And let's see what happens.
When Mattathias saw it, he burned with zeal, and his heart was stirred. He gave vent to righteous anger. He ran and killed him on the altar.
He said he was so angry.
Right.
Now it says anger rested in the bosom of a fool. It said, but they called it righteous anger. That he ran up on him and killed him right on the spot. Because you're not going to disrespect the laws of God. You're not going to disrespect the laws of God in front of me. Now the people at this time, they already started adapting to certain cultures and customs and things of this nature. But it comes a point when enough is enough.
Right.
And this is what started happening. The people said, enough is enough. And Mattathias is from a family of a priest. He has a lot of responsibility. So he took action and he killed that sellout. Let's see what it says.
At the same time, he killed the king's officer who was forcing them to sacrifice, and he tore down the altar. Thus he burned with zeal for the Lord, just as Pinchas did against Zimri, son of Salu. Then Mattathias cried out in the town with a loud voice, saying, let everyone who is zealous for the Lord and supports the covenant come out with me.
Ain't no looking back now.
Then he and his sons
He
fled to the hill.
killed the sellout and he killed the king's officer.
Right.
There's no turning back now. Now you really got to go into the caves, into the mountains, and disappear. Because you might have gotten them, but what's coming after that is going to be much more than what they just said.
Right.
Because you just killed the king's officer. Let's go.
Then he and his sons fled to the hills and left all that they had in the town. At that time, many who were seeking righteousness and justice went down to the wilderness to live there. They, their sons, their wives, and their livestock, because troubles pressed heavily upon them. And it was reported to the king's officers and to the troops in Jerusalem, the city of David, that those who had rejected the king's command had gone down to the hiding places in the wilderness. Many pursued them and overtook them. They encamped opposite them and prepared for battle against them on the Shabbat day.
So they knew our law. And they knew that the Shabbat day was sacred to us.
Right.
So they said, we're going to go down. They came from Jerusalem because Jerusalem was what they took as their stronghold.
Right.
And they sent the people, they found out, they had scouts. They said, yeah, they're in the caves over here by Modim and by over here. He said, we're going to strategize this. We're going to go attack them on the Shabbat day because we know that that day is holy for them. And what happened?
They said to them, enough of this. Come out and do what the king's command and you will live. But they said, we will not come out, nor will we do what the king commands, and so profane the Shabbat day. Then the enemy quickly attacked them, but they did not answer them or hurl a stone at them or block up their hiding places. For they said, let us all die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you are killing us unjustly.
The Most High God tell us, get knowledge, get wisdom, but above all I get and get what? Understanding. So if somebody slaps you on the Shabbat day, it don't mean that you stand there and take somebody slapping you on the Shabbat day. You have a right to defend yourself.
That's right.
You have a right to defend yourself. Somebody does something to you on the Shabbat day, you know, like there's certain kind of things we're not supposed to do. But if a pipe breaks in your house on the Shabbat day, you're not going to go walk away and say, well, you know, it's the Shabbat day and I'm not going to address this problem until the sun goes down. By the time you come back and you come home, your house going to be flooded. And your house will be no good anymore. Yeah. So these are things that we have to do. We got to use understanding. Unfortunately, our people did not use understanding. These set of people did not use understanding at this time. But let's see what Mattathias is going to do.
So they attacked them on the Shabbat, and they died with their wives and children and livestock to the number of 1,000 people. When Mattathias and his friends learned of it, they mourned for them deeply, and all said to their neighbors, if we all do as our kindred have done and refuse to fight with the Gentiles for our lives and for our ordinances, they will quickly destroy us from the earth. So they made this decision that day. Let us fight against anyone who comes to attack us on the Shabbat day. Let us not all die as our kindred died in their hiding places. Then they united with them a company of Chassidim, mighty warriors of Yisrael, all who offered themselves willingly for the Lord.
So they made a pact. We're not going to sit because it's the Shabbat and just allow people to attack. We're going to defend ourselves.
Right.
And then attach themselves a band of pious ones, people who wanted to do Torah. And what they did.
And all who became fugitives to escape their troubles joined them and reinforced them. They organized an army and struck down sinners in their anger and renegades in their wrath. The survivors fled to the Gentiles for safety, and Mattathias and his friends went around and tore down the
Contrary to
altars.
popular opinion, everybody didn't want to do evil. Some people wanted to do right. And those are the people that attached themselves to Mattathias and his family. You see, a man, if you are a real man, right, and somebody invades you, this is why a man steps up first. Because if a man is killed, a man don't want to see his wife and his children either murdered or his wife being raped or anything. That's why the man is supposed to come out and defend first.
Right.
Because that's your duty as a man. Right. So that's why the man began to step up, because at some point if you stay docile and you accept what's happening to you, they could grab your wife and do what they want to do with her. They could grab your daughter. They could do what they want to do to your sons. This is what happens. So a man who's a real man that don't want to go through that and don't want to see that, he would rather fight than to see his family go through that. He would rather die than to see his family go through that. And this is what they're doing. But the thing is, when you bring up the courage, when you muster up the courage to fight and to fight for what's right, then God is with you. And this is what started happening, because they was outnumbered. But they began to fight because they fought, because they didn't want to see the destruction of their family. So they'll rather die first before they see that destruction. Let us go.
They forcibly circumcised all the uncircumcised boys that they found within the borders of Israel. They hunted down the arrogant, and the work prospered in their hands. They rescued the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and kings. And they never let the sinner gain the upper hand.
So all the people that left their kids uncircumcised, bring that boy over here. But no, I don't want no problems with the sin. Listen, bring that boy over here. We're going to circumcise him. You're going to do this, Lord. So those people had no choice but to follow him. Let us go.
Now the days drew near for Mattathias to die, and he said to his sons, arrogance and scorn have now become strong. It is a time of ruin and furious anger. Now my children, show zeal for the Lord and give your lives for the covenant of our ancestors. Remember the deeds of the ancestors which they did in their generations, and you will receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful when tested, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and became Lord of Egypt. Pinchas, our ancestor, because he was deeply zealous, received the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Joshua, because he fulfilled the command, became a judge in Yisrael. Caleb, because he testified in assembly, received an inheritance in the land. David, because he was merciful, inherited the throne of the kingdom forever. Eliyahu, because of great zeal for the Lord, was taken up into heaven. Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael believed and were saved from the flame. Daniel, because of his innocence, was delivered from the mouth of the lions. And so observed from generation to generation that none of those who put their trust in him will lack strength.
You hear that? From generation to generation. When you put your trust in God, you won't lack strength. Fear, like, who was it that said it? Parna said it, I believe, last week. Fear is a part of human emotion. You're going to have fear. Abraham feared. He was scared. Isaac was scared. Jacob was scared. All these men were scared. That's part of human emotion. But the difference is that with that fear, overcoming it, and then you become courageous. And this is what he's telling them. He's like, look, you're going to have fear. You're going to have a moment where you're not going to feel secure about what you're doing. But he's telling them, listen, you have to keep the good fight going because you do not want this people to continue to go through what we're going through. We have to be able to fight in order to survive. So that's what he's encouraging his sons to do. He's not telling them, oh, you know, sons, y'all gave a good fight, y'all gave a good battle. You might as well just do what they tell you to do so that your generations could live after you. He did not tell them that. He told them you got to fight, and if you got to die, you have to die. Let us go.
Do not fear the words of sinners, for their splendor will turn into dung and worms. Today they will be exalted, but tomorrow they will not be found, because they will have returned to the dust, and their plans will have perished. My children, be courageous and grow strong in the Lord, for by it you will gain honor. Here is your brother Simeon, who I know is wise in counsel. Always listen to him. He shall be your father.
He's the older one. Listen to him. But he didn't say because he's the older one that he's the one that's going to lead the battle. No. He understood his sons. He said, Simeon, he said he's going to be your counselor. He's going to be like a father to you. Let's go.
Judas Maccabees has been a mighty warrior from his youth. He shall command the army for you and fight the battle against the people.
So this is the warrior right here. Let him be the commander of the people. Let's go.
You shall rally around you all who observe the law and avenge the wrong done to your people. Pay back the Gentiles in full and obey the commands of the Lord. Then he blessed them and was gathered to his ancestors. He died in the 146th year and was buried in the tomb of his ancestors at Modin. And all Yisrael mourned for him with great lamentation.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, the Most High God, for this time, for this season. I just, you know, Hanukkah is not a time of gift giving.
Okay, talk about that.
Hanukkah is not a time for us to start giving our kids dreidels and light and all type. That's not what Hanukkah is all about. That's right. Hanukkah wasn't that. It was when we get next week, when we get through the history, we're going to see why the men gave their lives up. Those men and those people gave their lives up in order to rededicate the temple, in order so that they'd stop sacrificing swine's flesh on the altar, in order to take the image of Zeus out of the temple. That's what they did. Right. There's no fairy tale, no, what do you call it, folkloric story where they talk about there was one cruse of oil that only was supposed to burn for one day and miraculously it burned for 8 days. So it's the festival of lights. That's not what it is. No, sir. Hanukkah doesn't even mean that. No, sir. The word literally means consecration or dedication. That's what it means. So what did they consecrate? What did they rededicate? The temple. The temple was destroyed. But we fall into, you see, even as Israelites, because when the Jewish man came, even the Jewish man didn't used to give gifts on Hanukkah. Right. But when they came to America in the 1940s, right, after Hitler did what he did to them and they started putting their children in public schools, what happened is that because they were going to school and Hanukkah falls around the same time that Xmas falls on, the kids will come home and say, the kids are getting Christmas presents, so they conform to American or Western lifestyle, and they begin to bring Hanukkah bushes to their houses. And now you got Israelites today with Hanukkah bushes. You got Israelites today giving gifts to their kids on Hanukkah when originally that was not the tradition. Right. Hanukkah is more of a time of observance and remembering than anything else. It's not a day designated by the Most High God. Don't put that in our kids. Don't begin to do things like this to our kids because then they get used to it. And you know what? It's wrong because you're not giving them a Hanukkah present. You're giving them a Christmas gift. That's it. That's what you're giving them. You're giving them a Christmas gift because that's where that gift giving came from. Teach us. So as Israelites, we have to be resolute, we have to understand our history, and we have to start going for legends. Legends are legends. That's a story being told. It's almost like a myth. Stories that they attach to history. Those are legends, right? But the reality was that our forefathers rededicated the temple. They put their lives on the line, and they did all these things in order for us to be here today and to be able to praise his high and holy name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. This time, let us close out. thank you the Most High God for the holy Shabbat day. This time we'll proceed with the prayers that are set aside for the closing of the Shabbat day. The first being the book of Exodus chapter 20. The world knows this as the Ten Commandments, the constitution of the nation of Yisrael. Hallelujah. And God spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of thy house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that's in the heaven above, or that's in the earth beneath, or that's in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and show mercy unto the thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy God in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Shabbat unto Yahweh thy God. And it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Jehovah made heaven and earth, the sea and all land in midst, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore Jehovah blessed the Shabbat day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Jehovah thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah. Baruch Yehovah Asher Natan Menuka Le'amo Yisrael. Heko Asher Diber Lo Nafal Devar Ekad Miko. Devaro Hatov Asher Diber Beyad Moshe Avdo. Yehi Yehovah Eloheinu Imanu Asher Haya Imavotenu. Ayazvenu Be'al Yishenu Le'atov Levavnu. Elau Laleket Lekal Derakal. But it's more misotai. Wekukwai, Mishpatai, Asher Zikwa et Abotedu, where you Devare Elet Hasher Hikanati, Lifne Yaho Querubim, El Yaho Elohenu, Yomam Welaila, La Aso Mishpat Abdo Mishpat Slika, Abdo Mishpat Amo Yisrael, Devad Yom Beyomo, Lama Anda Kame Haaretz, Ki Yaho Ahu Ha Elohim, Ain O, where Hayalavam Kem Shalemim Yaho Elohenu, Lalaket Bekukwai, well it's more misotai, Hayom. Hallelujah. Oh, give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good. Oh, give thanks to God of gods. Oh, give thanks to the Lord of lords. To him who alone doeth great wonders. To him who by wisdom made the heavens. To him who laid out the earth above the waters. To him who made great lights. The sun to rule by day. The moon and stars to rule by night. To him who struck Egypt for their firstborn. And brought out Israel from among them with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm. To him who divided the Red Sea in two and made Israel pass through the midst of it. But overthrew Paro and his army in the Red Sea. To him who led his people through the wilderness. To him who struck down great kings and slew famous kings. Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan, and gave the land as a heritage to Israel, his servant. Remembered us in our lowly state and rescued us from our enemies, who gives food to all flesh. Oh, give thanks to the God of heaven.
Le razon
Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Baruch Shem Kevo Ma'akuto Leolam Wa'ed. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh our God, Yahweh is one. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever. Weko Yisrael Yimru. Hallelujah. At this time I say the words of the blessing that the Most High God gave unto Moshe to give unto Aharon and his sons, blessed children of Yisrael. Open and praying that on the conclusion of this day, that the Most High God look down upon each and every one and grant us a blessing. Wadaber Yehovah el Moshe lemor, daber el Aharon we el Benah lemor, kotevar ku bnei Yisrael amor lahem. And Yehovah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto Aharon and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Yisrael. Ye shall say unto them, Jivareka Yehovah Yishmereka, Ya'ir Yehovah Panawaleka Wikuneka, Yisa Yehovah Panawaleka Yasem Laka Shalom. May Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Hallelujah. 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 Bekwacho. Hallelujah. May be seated for announcement. First announcement to everybody online. You can make your donations to D.C.B, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. D.C.B, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. That's where you can send the checks and money orders. Secondly, you can donate on our website, www.baitdcb.org. On the lower left-hand side of the home page, you can press on the donate button, and on that donate button, you could donate via MasterCard, Visa, and all those things. Also, on our description on our YouTube channel, if you press it, there's a link right below it that says PayPal. You can donate that way. All your donations are appreciated. Everybody who's been donating, we appreciate your donations. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you, and continue to support D.C.B so that we could accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. The place doesn't run on air, but it runs on cash. So we need our place to continue to run. So in order to do that, we need your help. And as you can see, we try our best to get the internet and everything going. So we need everybody on the internet also to support and to keep everything going. Amen? Hey. Any other announcements? I believe next week, Shalom is having a concert, a Hallelujah concert. That's on I believe it's on the 9th. The 9th is what? Yom Rishon? Right, on the 9th, they're having a Hallelujah concert. I'm not sure of the time yet. 12 to 4. I'm sure they're going to be selling food, refreshments. So Hallelujah concert next week at Beit Shalom. This is also addressing the centennial anniversary that they're having. Right? Centennial means 100 years. 100 years of this community being around from when Rabbi Matthew first established the first commandment keeper to now. Many of us are extensions, no matter whether or not you call yourself Israelites or you don't call yourself black Jews or whatever it may be. We are an extension of Rabbi Matthew and what he started here in North America as far as the children of Israel. So we have to acknowledge that. They're going to have something next week. In order to help that, they also want us to help. They want every congregation to become a part of this centennial celebration in order to help out to make it a great event. That will be held next week, next year, August 9th. I believe the August 19th weekend, but I don't want to be, I don't have no, that's something different. That's the brother Adon Rabbah. They're going to Jamestown, Virginia also on that weekend to commemorate the 400 years that we've been here as Israel in this land, right? So they're also having something. They're also having something there. Why are you in front of the camera, buddy? There's people online trying to listen. You that narcissistic? Y'all seen them?
Go the way, point. Move, man. Go on, man.
Wow. Any other announcements? Anything else? Youth Shabbat in Philly, 1229. All right. We also, I was talking to a couple of people. We're going to try to get together because on their holidays, we usually be homebound. So we're going to try to get here together on the 24th, try to have some food, try to have some music so we could just hang out together because we don't get to hang out together. So in order to stay away from home, from all the music and all the stuff that they're going to inundate us with, on December 24th, we're going to try to be out here and be together and enjoy each other's company. Is that good with everyone? We're going to come out here on the 24th, December 24th. All right? So last time we had a good time. You know, when was that? Last 2 weeks ago?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just before that misgiving.
Right, before they misgiving. We was out here. People had a good time. And we enjoyed ourselves. So, any other announcements? No more announcements? Okay, donations and obligations. See Chief Elquana. Hallelujah.